put down that camera and strap in. It's time for a new episode of TogChat Live. Get ready for a 60-minute deep dive into marketing for photographers, including marketing news and tips and photography website reviews. Here's your host, Joe Edelman.
Hey gang, it's Thursday and thank you for joining me for another live episode of TogChat. That's right, so for the next 60 minutes, we're going to talk about marketing. For all of you that are crazy enough to want to try and earn money with your camera, I'll do my best to help you take the right steps to being able to get your business off the ground. So as always, gang, it is really, really awesome to see so many of you here. I think Troy's here if he's not in a bunker somewhere. Tom's here, Suad, Jean from Brazil, Roderick, John Campbell, Doreen from Barbados. Esben's here. Esben, I saw that statement about being a pixel waster. We will have to discuss that. Let's see, James is here. H&A Family Photos from right down the road in Philly. Glad to see Philly representing. And Taurus Bailey, that's a name that I don't know that I've seen before. Nice to see you here. Let's see, Kyle is here, and Kyle's like sweating bullets right now because it's Kyle's website that I'm going to talk about tonight. So we'll see how that goes, all right? And Kim's here. We got a bunch of people here. Stanley, Christopher Brown, great to see all you guys. Thank you so much for spending an evening with me. So indeed, tonight we're going to take a look at the work of a photographer in Dallas, Texas, and his marketing efforts. But before we get going, I have a big favor to ask. Now, I know all of you think that I'm going to go through that whole thing and ask you about social media and tweeting and all that stuff. Well, like, of course I want you to do that. You know that by now. So just go do your thing and please take care of that. But actually, you're here because you want to learn about marketing. I would hope either that or you're just really bored and have nothing better to do. So this is your place to loiter and hang out. But if that's the case, do me a favor. Take a moment. Watch the chat window here, gang. Take a moment and post a question. What one thing can I tell you about marketing that's going to help you out? Give me some questions. I'm going to set aside some Q&A time at the end of the show. You guys know that I always do that. And I will do my best to answer as many questions as I can. And for the questions that I don't get to tonight, don't worry. They may wind up becoming future videos. They may be questions that I lead off another TogChat show with, or they could wind up being used in a number of ways. But understand, they will be read and they will be noticed. So I'm going to switch over. I'm going to dive right in because I want to be able to spend a good solid hour, and when do I ever finish in 60 minutes? So I want to make sure that I get lots of stuff in here tonight because I'll be honest with you guys, like I need to kind of like pump up the energy because I just spent the last hour watching another YouTube live stream and like I'm feeling so chill. Like I'm realizing that if I would talk a whole lot slower and spend a lot more time looking at my computer, I could make this hour go by with saying probably about 1/10 of the amount of stuff that I normally say. But I'm figuring that you guys probably wouldn't like that much. So I'm working on trying to catch up here. So our website tonight, let me switch my screen over here, is from a gentleman, and I'm going to refresh the page real quick so that you actually see the first image that loads, and we'll let it cycle through from there. So as you can read yourselves, our photographer tonight is Kyle Sharp of Kyle Sharp Studios. Kyle is from Dallas, Texas. So you guys know the drill. I have 3 questions that I ask every photographer when they submit their website. Question number 1. Tell me about yourself. And I'm going to read you Kyle's words. He picked up a camera for the first time about 2 years ago, so he is a newbie. A month and a half later, he quit his job and got a job as a photographer. So he is not only a newbie, but he's part crazy. But we like that, right? Okay. So he obviously in the 2 years has been learning as much as he could from people who've been doing the job a lot longer. Shortly after he quit his job, got a job with another photographer, he opened his own studio, Kyle Sharp Studios, and pretty much he hasn't looked back. In his own description, he's had a very eclectic past, a jack of all trades, but he knew he had found his passion when he started in photography. So ever since he picked up his first camera, he's had a camera in his hands every single day, which is very good, practicing, learning, growing, And he feels he's come a long way in the 2 years, but he knows he's got a long way to go. So with that said, he really enjoys all the people that he gets to meet and work with. So the second question for everyone that submits a website, tell me about the website. His website's been a running project for a little over a year. He just started a blog to try and get the SEO boost. And he's recently started taking taking SEO and social media seriously. So he finally feels that he's at the point where his online portfolio is becoming, diverse and comprehensive all at the same time, and really kind of getting its focus, which is good. And the last question, and he gave me a lot of information on this one, what do you want me to help you accomplish when I review your website? So Kyle's feedback was there's several things that he would like feedback on. First, it's the layout. Is the website intuitive to navigate? So just the fact that he's asking about intuitive websites, clearly he's been doing some research, because that's definitely a web marketing term, but a very good term, okay? And it's important. Secondly, is the subject matter. He wants to focus on headshots and weddings, but he still has a portrait page up. So he doesn't do too many portraits, and he prefers shooting the portraits and weddings. So this question is, should he remove the portraits from his offerings? He's also looking for feedback on social media, how he has it integrated with the website, and also any SEO input. And then finally, he's looking for feedback on things that he hasn't thought of yet, or things that stand out that he should know. Right now, his biggest struggle is getting people through the door. So he wants to know what he can do to increase traffic and interest in his work. Cool. So I think that we can work through this website with Kyle, and we can give him some, some really good feedback and some good information here. Before I dive in, I forgot to tell you folks something last week, so I want to make sure that I do it early in the show today so that I don't forget. I've had a bunch of people emailing me, reaching out, messaging me online, asking me about my logo and my rebranding, which I talked about in some of these earlier marketing talk chats, and obviously people have seen my website change over the year, etc. And I always forward the information. I am more than glad to share it. And I asked the gentleman who did my rebranding and my design work to actually make a little ad for me so that I could give him some love here and show off his work. And I had it last week, completely forgot to show it. So I want to make sure that I get it in early. So the guy that did my rebranding, because I got a guy who is awesome at graphics work. His name is Roberto Pinto. And if you're a member of my Facebook group, I'll let all you guys know that are members of the Facebook group. Roberto is a member of the group also. So you will frequently see him comment in the group. If you're not a member of the Facebook group by any chance, there is the link in the chat window. Without spending an hour talking about Roberto, which I could easily do, let me just tell you that if you have logo needs, if you are having issues with your website design, and you're trying to work on WordPress so that you've got a little bit more control and versatility than what you get with the templated sites, Roberto is top notch. I've worked with lots of designers over the years, lots of designers. This guy, he gets it. Not only is he very talented as a designer, but he is very good at really understanding the feel of your work, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. And Roberto really he's the brain trust behind my look and feel right now online. Not just my website, my logo, all the TogChat logos and artwork that you see, but even all of the thumbnails, the ones that you see playing behind me back here, they're all Roberto's work. So I highly encourage you to seek him out if you have needs for him. His link is in the description below the video. And so let's go ahead and dig into Kyle's website. So I do know that Kyle is using a Squarespace site. I know it for two reasons. One, because I recognize the template. But for those of you that maybe are new to this whole marketing thing, I wanted to show you a little tip that you can use, or I shouldn't say tip, maybe a trick that you can use to figure out if you see somebody's website, like, wow, is that a WordPress website? Is that a Squarespace site? Is it a format site? And it's real simple, and that is when you right click on a web page, well, now we get actually a little message here that Kyle's got the copyright notice up. So, but when you right click and override it, you can do a show page source. Now, unfortunately, I'm doing this and you're not seeing it online right now. So it's one of those things that's kind of an overlay in the browser so it doesn't show up in the capture. But what will happen is it's going to open up all this gobbledygook. This gobbledygook, it's called HTML. It's programming language. Don't panic. You don't have to go learn programming language if you just want to figure out how somebody built their website. It's really simple. Scroll down through the first 15 or 20 lines or so and start looking for Squarespace. It's a Squarespace site. Real easy. If it was a format site, you'd see references to format.com. If it's a WordPress site, you won't see WordPress. But what you will find is you'll find a couple lines in here that refer to something along the lines of WP_content, or you'll see themes / and then a random word. Those are indications that you're looking at a WordPress website. So the interesting piece about internet marketing is it's kind of really hard to keep things a secret in terms of what you're doing. If somebody likes the way you've put something together, they can easily go grab it. And trust me, don't waste a ton of time and energy trying to protect what you're doing that way. It's just not worth it, because people are going to hire you not because you have a cool website, not because you're using a neat theme on WordPress. They're going to hire you because of your photography. Okay? So what I like right out of the box is Kyle has kept it simple. His homepage layout, we're using full frame images, but it is right to the point. It's Kyle Sharp Studios. We have location, Dallas-Fort Worth area, headshots, weddings, and portraits. And then we have the links. So it doesn't get a whole lot simpler than that, and that is definitely what you want to be seeing, okay? He's got a social media links down in the bottom right-hand corner. I do wish that his domain name, you guys know it's one I'm never going to back off on, so I'll mention it and go on. If this is your first marketing TogChat, watch some of the others, or even watch my marketing series on YouTube, and you will hear me talk about this same thing. I would love to see a kylesharp.com or a kylesharpphoto.com or kylesharp.photo or .photography. Kyle Sharp Studios starts to make things sound a little expensive. So you just have to be careful when you take those steps. And that piece of conversation, it's going to come up again tonight as we get into some other things that Kyle is doing. I want to talk about that idea of making things seem expensive and how people may interpret that, okay? So from a navigation standpoint here, we've got headshots, weddings, services, reviews, contact. Really pretty simple. I'm not sure that I would do headshots, wedding, and portrait photography, but then only have links to headshots and weddings. Now, obviously, as I read to you, Kyle's not sure yet about keeping the portrait thing, not keeping the portrait thing. Kyle, I'll tell you right out of the box, I think what I would encourage you to do, and I'll show all of you a little bit more detail as we go into the site here, I would encourage you to make that gallery or link portraits / headshots, because they're really one in the same. And I assure you that quite a few of your headshot clients, they think of their pictures as portraits. So you're in an area where, you know, certainly there are actors and actresses in Dallas, but it's not a big acting area. So the headshots you're talking about and what you're showing are really more business people that are using the images for social media, LinkedIn, you know, those kinds of things. I would combine the two. That leaves the door open for you. If somebody wants to hire you for a portrait, you're not kind of letting that drop off. And that also makes sure that you get the business from the people that don't consider a social media picture a headshot, but consider it a portrait. So I would simply actually just use both words, portrait / headshots. That way, everything's going to be consistent straight across the board. So your tagline will be Dallas-Fort Worth portrait, headshot, and weddings. And then your link is going to be portrait, headshots, weddings, services, reviews, contact, etc. Okay? So if we jump into the headshots gallery here, now we see that we have a logo. I do actually wish that we could see that logo. In fact, you know, now that I said that, let me just go back. Yeah, okay, that's right. The logo's not there. So I do wish the logo was out on the homepage. It would be nice to see this, you know, kind of consistency throughout. I think that would definitely be of value to you. And I will also say, to be fair, since you're doing Kyle Sharp here, with the subtext of Kyle Sharp Studios, all the more reason to go with the domain name kylesharp.com. The fact that you have your phone number up here, call or text, that's great. In fact, there's some things in Kyle's website here that I don't want to take credit for him, but I have a feeling he's been watching some of my TogChats and he's implemented them, and which is great. It's exactly what I want to see. So the fact that you're giving people the option to text, that's awesome. And for those of you that may not have heard me talk about the let people text you thing before, yes, it's annoying. You get a random text, what are your prices? But people do that by email. People do that by phone. So stop whining about the text thing. Trust me, you want to make it as easy as possible for people to be able to reach out and contact you. Super, super important, okay? So, we've got a real clean, essentially, slider type format. I noticed that we've got the directions up at the top here. And as I'm trying on my mouse, I can't scroll. So if I use my arrows, Kyle, here's the downside. I am viewing your website in Safari right now, and the arrows on my keyboard don't scroll your gallery. So there are some usability issues here. I know this is a Squarespace template, so I would do a little bit of research, do some Google searching, see if anybody else has had problems. I'm sure that Squarespace has a user community, like a discussion forum area, and of course they also have tech support. But I have to be completely honest, I am not a fan of any website where I have to read directions about how to use it. And I will reassure you, we're at a point in the internet where people generally understand that when you see pictures lined up like this, you can scroll through them. So it's not really necessary to give those directions, but you do have to make sure it works on all browsers. So I'm not able to scroll at all, and my arrows are not taking me through the website. So that's a little problematic. But in terms of having the slider format, it's absolutely fine. It's very effective. It works well. I will tell you that as soon as possible, and I realize you're really kind of crunching the learning curve here in the sense that you're really just getting your feet wet in photography at 2 years, and you're already starting a business, which all that I applaud you. Awesome. But as you are able to build out your portfolio more, be very careful about showing multiple pictures of the same people. The more pictures you show of the same person, the more of the indication is that you haven't photographed that many people. And it essentially very kind of almost subliminally gives a feeling of not a lot of experience. Because one thing you definitely, and I don't remember what's on the About page, but one thing you definitely don't want to be doing is telling people you've only been shooting for 2 years. That would be a huge mistake. So as you are able to drop this guy off, you're either going to drop him off here or you're going to drop him off on the home page, but you don't want to be using people more than once. That's a really, really important piece there, okay? So let's click over to weddings here and see what happens with weddings. So I get the arrow there. Now on weddings, I'm able to get through it. So I don't know what the deal was with portraits. I'll go back in a second and we'll see if it'll work this time. But so again, kind of a similar scenario. All these first pictures seem to be from the same wedding, still the same wedding. Now it looks like I'm at a different wedding. Maybe you've only done 3 or 4 or several weddings, and that's fine. Mix the pictures up a little more. In other words, don't have all of the first wedding and then the second wedding and then the third wedding. Mix it all up. That way people are less likely to realize, oh, there's only 3 weddings here, and they are going to get more of a variety quicker. Because the other thing is too, you never want to assume that people are going to look at all your pictures just because you put them there. We would hope that they would. We would like them to, but don't assume that people will actually do that. So you want to treat those first 4 or 5 pictures. Think of it as like one scroll off the page. So that's usually going to be maybe 3 to 4, maybe 5 pictures. Those are the most important ones. They better be your like, whoa, shots. They're the ones that are going to grab people. Everything after that better be really great shots, but realize that frequently those questions are simply not going to be seen. So, or excuse me, those questions, Can you tell? I just looked at the chat window. Sorry. Those images are frequently not going to be seen. So let's go back to the headshot page and see if I get the navigation to work here. Now this time it shows up. So I'll give you a pass on it, Kyle. And seriously, don't panic too much. Literally, given the screen capture software and everything I have going on here, that might have been what caused it to not work. I just may have gotten something out of sequence. So don't panic. I think you're fine. It worked when I looked at it earlier. So yeah, I mean, same thing I mentioned before, like this lady here who's on your homepage, take her out of this gallery, okay? So I also wanted to go ahead and click, since I suggested kind of combining the two. A lot of these pictures in your headshot section, Kyle, they're portraits. I mean, a portrait is a headshot and a headshot is a portrait, okay? So I don't think it would hurt you at all if you had the couple's pictures, or now again, be careful because this couple right here shows up in several of your other shots. So you kind of need to do either or, like pick one or pick the other, decide which way you're going to go, but I wouldn't use both, okay? So really, John Edward, do we have somebody that's in here promoting their business? They do, okay. So yeah, so ADDDJ, it's been nice knowing you, but I have no patience for someone that's going to come in here and market themselves. Thank you, Jean, for pointing that out. I do pay attention to the chat, guys. Unlike some other YouTubers that just let the chat run while they talk to each other and pretty much ignore it, I do keep an eye on it, so I appreciate that. So yeah, I mean, this is a nice shot, Kyle, but I'm not sure that it's as strong as the portraits that you have of the two of them, or the as you call it, headshots that you have of the two of them. So I think I would actually lose this. You do have some nice couple shots. I'll be honest, from a photography standpoint, the water reflection shot doesn't do a lot for me. It's not that it's a bad picture. I'm just not a big fan of, I call this a Sal Sincata picture. And I know I'm going to get myself in trouble for this, but it's the whole idea, like, here's this really cool old, castle and dark stormy skies, and oh look, down in the bottom of the frame there's two people there. You can't tell who they are. And I get it, these are really popular and really trendy, so I'm bucking the trend with that attitude. But man, I'd much rather have a picture like this where I can see them and they look like they're having fun, instead of a picture that is basically a picture of some concrete frame in a lake or a pond, whatever it is. And oh yeah, by the way, there's two people there. So that being said, if there's a ton of photographers in your area that are doing this, ignore everything I just spouted off, literally, because then it's wise for you to show something like that. If it's something, or the other option, of course, is to completely distance yourself from that stuff and do stuff that is much more personality based. Because, well, to be clear, since I'm using Sal Sincata as a reference, while his images are very artistic and very masterful, so I want to make it clear, I have mad respect for him as a photographer. It's just completely not my genre. Obviously, you've looked at my work. My genre is about personality. It's about eyes. It's about people. It's about interaction. So for me, I love these pictures where clearly these people know they're being photographed. You are interacting with them. The shot with the frame is kind of more voyeuristic in the sense that, oh yeah, there's two people over there. So, but I would definitely, nice family portrait, really well done. Even these shots here, I would absolutely go ahead and mix this into portraits. This shot here, Kyle, I got to be honest with you, if I'm a betting man, you didn't get paid to do that. And you're probably not going to get paid to do that. I don't think you're going to have too many people that are going to come to you and say, hey, like, could you take a picture of me playing around with flour? It's one of those neat pictures. And, for playing around with models, it's cool. But understand, if you're trying to pay your bills with a camera, you're not going to do it photographing models. So lose that idea right out of the box, because it is not going to be a sustainable business, especially not when you have people that are really well known for mentoring models that are routinely telling models don't pay photographers to get portfolios. That's me. There's no reason for a model to pay at this point, and that's exactly what I advise models. So instead, I teach models how to know what pictures to tell photographers they need, and then I teach them how to go out and do trades, because there are tons of people that'll do trades. So There's not a whole lot of money to be made in models. So my advice, if you like this shot, and you should, I mean, it's a really cool shot, so certainly you should be proud of it, but I'm just not sure that I would use it to promote your portraits and weddings. This might be a cool shot to like place like at the bottom of like your about page, just as something interesting, or even at the bottom of your contact page, just as, again, as something interesting. It's a little bit of wow that is still wow and kind of cool when it's kind of out of place, okay, and you know, seen on its own. All right. So next up on the navigation here, as we go across, and also, by the way, I wanted to point out, in case you folks didn't notice it, on the home page, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 links. As soon as we get inside, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 links. Now, that's not necessarily bad, but you need to be really careful when you start doing that, because you start training people on the home page, and then what happens is you've got to retrain them once they get inside. So in this case, meet the crew, which is something I'm going to talk about. That's basically the about page. I've already peeked. I know it's there, okay? And then we've got contact, reviews, blog. I must say that for me, I would maybe think about kind of trying to redirect the reviews. And I have a suggestion for that when we get to it. But I would love to see you trim down this navigation that's on the top of the interior. And Kyle's telling me that Squarespace has a limitation of how many links you can put on the homepage. That's a good thing, because they're trying to prevent you from putting too many links on the homepage, Kyle. But we can tweak the way your links are set up on the inside that's going to be able to match it a little bit more, and I'll tell you how. So let's start with your services page. So the thing that I struggle with, well, a couple of things. Number one, right out of the box, like, there's an awful lot of white, and like this needs some kind of intro. And you don't need to have like 300 words here waxing poetic about, you know, prices, but I guess part of what I struggle with here is you start out by saying you tailor your pricing to each person's needs, which, even though your statement is about pricing, so again, I'm just working with the English language here. So you are stating that you tailor your prices based on needs, which means that the way I interpret that, also your packages differ based on what the person comes to you and says they want. But then when we go down here, so for headshots, there's 2 packages. And I know your caveat is going to be, but it says starting at. Well, but people aren't going to take the time to read into all that. So the first, you know, I have a 20-minute session in studio in Dallas, retouching, 24-hour turnaround, pre-shoot consultation, delivery of digital images. And then I have another one that's on location, and it's starting at. The challenge that you got to be careful of here, and I've talked about in the past doing these starting at if you really have to do it. Look at what your competition's doing. If your competition is showing prices, then I honestly would put a paragraph up top that talks about, you know, hey, I do studio headshots, I do location headshots, I do weddings, and say, you know, headshot sittings begin at $150. Contact me so that we can put together a package that suits your needs. Instead of doing this 20-minute and retouching and 24-hour turnaround and all that kind of stuff. And I would be really careful about 24-hour turnaround, because if you build your business to the point where you're really making money, you ain't going to be doing no 24-hour turnaround. So be careful about that. Let people ask for the 24-hour turnaround, because if they ask for the 24-hour turnaround, you could say, wow, you know, that means I'm going to have to really rush your work, and I don't like rushing your work, because if I rush it, I'm sacrificing quality. So if you need it that fast, that means I'm going to have to stay up really late the night that I do your shoot. That's going to cost you a little bit of extra money. There's going to be a rush charge. That's how you charge people for special services. So I wouldn't do a 24-hour turnaround. And if we're being perfectly honest, 20 minutes is not enough time to say hello to somebody. It's just not. So literally, to do a 20-minute session with someone, they're going to have to walk in your front door and you're going to be like, hey, hurry up, we got to go, let's go, sit down, come on, right now, I need to shoot because I need to do about 250 frames. So like, hurry up, look at me, smile, don't move, turn your head a little bit, come on, let's go. Okay, change, quick, you got 30 seconds, boom. I need more Coke. But seriously, like 20 minutes, that doesn't, and even to me as a customer, so forget the photography part of things, that feels like I'm going to be rushed, like really rushed. Like, it gives me anxiety thinking about it, like, oh my God, like he's not going to spend much time with me. And then he's going to have them ready in 24 hours. Well, I guess so, because he's not going to spend that much time with me. So like that stuff, Kyle, that's working against you. That's making me feel like I'm an airline customer. You know, it's like, look, you're going to take my money, but what am I going to get for it? Cramped and rushed and hustled and basically nothing. And I know that's not what you're trying to sell. You want to make your clients feel special. So the whole idea that you want to customize packages, I don't think that's necessarily bad. There are people that would argue against that idea. I don't have a problem with doing that, provided that, number one, you understand that you need to be very responsive to messages and things that come in from your website. And by the way, folks, I should mention this in Kyle's defense here. One of the things I started doing when I do these website reviews is I wait until the afternoon of the TogChat where I'm going to do the website review, and I call or email the photographer kind of very last minute to say, hey, you're going to be on TogChat tonight. And it's really just to see, number one, if they're going to answer their phone, because that's part of business, or if they happen to be in another country, like, hey, are they going to email me back promptly, you know, that kind of thing. So I did call Kyle this afternoon. He did answer the phone, so that's all good. That's why he's here. He knew that he was going to be reviewed tonight. So, you know, I don't have a problem with doing the customized package thing, Kyle. You do have to understand that that's adding to your time, because that means that you are going to have to spend a little bit more time speaking with everyone that you deal with and kind of, you know, going through the sales process, which in my opinion, for somebody that's shooting portraits and weddings, that's actually very wise. But you have to build that additional time into your pricing schedule. Otherwise, as your business takes off, you're going to get to the point where you don't have enough time to do the things that you need to do. So I'd rather see you, you know, take this whole, I will tailor the prices. My studio headshots start at $150 on location. For another, you know, for an additional $50 on top of that. Weddings, I start at $2,300. Well, actually, they don't start at $2,300. So weddings start at $1,800. So weddings start at $1,800. And, you know, then you go from there. And I'll be honest with you, for an $1,800 wedding, one photographer. You shouldn't have two, okay? Vision consultation, I don't know what that is. So if that vision consultation thing, Kyle, if you're the only person in Dallas that uses that that phrase, drop it. If every photographer in Dallas calls it a vision consultation, meaning like brides are quickly trained, this is what it's called, then okay, use it. But I would still, just in case you're the first person that a bride-to-be looks at, I would still explain what a vision consultation is. Because I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what that is. I have a sense of what that's going to be, but I think it's one of those like fancy words that you don't need fancy words. Fancy words just make things sound expensive. There is a local photographer to me that I did some consulting with a few years back, and no names because I'm going to pick on him. But I was helping him with some lighting work, and he had arranged to have a couple of young women come so that he could do photographs to build out his portfolio for his website. And these were high school kids. They came with their moms. And the first one comes in, and he greets her, and she's got, you know, a bunch of clothing on hangers. He had done a good job of, you know, prepping them. That's the thing. And then he says to them, and I'm standing right there, he says to them, did you bring your inspiration photos? And I'm kind of looking at him like, what the hell is an inspiration photo? And this was like before Pinterest was a thing, okay, in all fairness. But so finally, when I had a minute, I kind of pulled him away from the girl while the girl was getting dressed, and I'm like, what the hell is an inspiration photo? He's like, I told him to go through magazines and just find pictures that they really like, that they would like to kind of use as inspiration for their stuff. And my point was like, okay, so this is like a 17-year-old kid. How many 17-year-old kids do you know that would use a phrase like inspiration photos? Like, no, tell the kids to go through the magazine and pick out pictures that they think would be cool to do. Done. But like, inspiration photos? Why give it some weird fancy name? So vision consultation, I get it. It's what is their vision of what their wedding album is going to look like and how you're going to plan out the day. It's called a consultation. Like, keep it simple, stupid. People will appreciate that simplicity. But the other problem you have here is you're giving way too many options, way too many packages. It's like, well, where do I start? And you know, if you shot weddings, Kyle, which I know you have, you know darn well that something that's planned for 2 hours takes 4. Something that's planned for 8 hours takes 10. No wedding happens in the time frame that it's supposed to happen in. So by putting all these time things on, what you're doing is you're creating stress points. You're literally creating like these issues of stress that you're going to have to deal with. Remove the stress. Make it simple. You know that if you're doing an engagement session, you may get it done in an hour. You're probably going to get it done in 3 hours if you're going to do a great job on it. So why put a number there that you're either going to wind up looking at your watch telling people to hurry up or ignoring the number anyway, in which case you've completely devalued your work. So these are things that I would encourage you to consider. I think, you know, conceptually what you're laying out is fine, but I would simplify this a whole lot. And then really be sure that you want to do hourly rates for a wedding, because these are kind of hourly rates for the most part. I mean, the only thing I'm seeing different here is, let's see, isn't there one without an engagement session? Yeah, this one here. So this one, basically I'm getting 8 hours of wedding coverage. So isn't that an hourly rate? Because it doesn't seem like you're offering me like any prints or anything. So, and even if somebody says, well, listen, I'm getting married to Justice of the Peace and I only need a photographer there for 2 hours, it would seem to me you'd still want to do a consultation with them to make sure that you're going to provide what you need. So I think you can make it a lot easier for yourself if you know, kind of simplified your options here, especially if you want to kind of be able to do like an a la carte type scenario like you're referring to. I think that would, you know, would help me or help you. And then please contact me for accurate quotes. If you're going to do this, I tailor my pricing to each person's individual needs. Maybe you should say, number one, I tailor it to your needs, but I would follow up with the statements like, contact me so that we can discuss, you know, discuss your photographs, as opposed to please contact me for accurate quotes. Accurate quotes makes it sound like this is a bait and switch. Like, oh, I get it. So it's $150, but no way in hell I'm getting out of there for $150. That word accurate is a kind of a trigger in that sense, okay? So meet the crew. This is the one page I would really encourage you to make a huge change on, Kyle. And please tell April, for me, it's nothing personal. But the problem that I have here is April's your assistant. She is going to take pictures for you at a wedding. She's the second photographer. I saw on the services page you have 2 photographers. But you're the guy. And we all know that primarily the stuff that the second photographer is doing is essentially the filler stuff. The head photographer is doing, you know, the prime work, okay? So you're not a big company. In fact, I did notice that later in your website, you switched to the word us, or maybe it was in your social media. So far, everything's I, which is good. That's what it should be. But then you do get to a point where you do us. April being your assistant doesn't make it an us, in my opinion. I would simplify it. You're a good-looking guy. You got a great smile. You're the guy. Focus on that. Create a page for April that is not linked on the website anywhere. When you get the OCD bride that is overly anxious, wants to control and be aware of every little detail of her day and says, so who is this assistant? Email them the link so that they can see that April is young and attractive, etc. Okay? But if you're going to keep April, both of you need to beef up your about page a little bit more. Part of the problem that you have is, I understand April is your second photographer for a wedding. What are you going to do when the day comes that somebody contacts you and says, hey, I want April to shoot my headshot? Is that an option? Are you prepared to do that? Is April good to go with that? Because somebody just may not like the way you look and they want April to do it. So I'm not so sure that I would promote April at this point. Nothing against April, personally. So, and this way you can go back to about, because not really a crew, it's two people. And I get it. You probably have, visions of expanding and adding, and that's cool, but you're the guy. Until you get to the point where you've got so many weddings that, excuse me, that there's a good likelihood somebody's not going to have you shoot their wedding, but they're going to hire Kyle Sharp Studios. I wouldn't do a whole lot of that crew and us stuff. Simplify it, okay? All right, contact page. So we've got the call and text, which has been there the whole time. That's good. Email Kyle Sharp Studios. We've got a form that is looking for name required, email address required, message required. Yeah, you're fine here. The only other thing, honestly, that I would require, Kyle, I would make the phone required. That's reasonable. I would totally go with that. And the how did you hear about me? I would take that off the form. That should be a question that you ask every time you talk to a client. Always limit the barriers to entry. You don't need a subject, just the message. So drop the subject, put the message in, take out the how did you hear about me. The fact that, and you talk here, it's like I take pride in taking time to get to know each other. So yeah, I mean, keep it simple. The idea that you're saying I'll get back to you in 24 hours, as long as you do that, that's all very good. And you're asking them for more information. All that stuff is exactly what it should be. But yeah, drop here about me, drop subject. I think you'll be good to go there. Reviews. So let's see. If I click on headshots, I get some very nice reviews with the photos of the people that did them, which is one of the things you folks hear me talk about all the time. So this is how it should be done. So I told you, Kyle, that I had a potential solution for you to get rid of this extra link that's over here. You can put drop-down navigation on any of these, if I'm not mistaken. So I would have the headshot reviews underneath headshots. So people mouse over headshots, they're going to have, you could basically have the drop-down be gallery or portfolio, and then reviews. And then they go to weddings, and it could be gallery, portfolio, and reviews. So you can do the same thing. That'll allow you to kind of get rid of that, all right? And then blog. So it looks like Kyle's just started blogging. Yeah, April 15th was his first blog, so he's a newbie to blogging. I will say, Kyle, that the fact that you have blogged 4 times in April, but none in the first 11 days of May, that is already the first big, huge warning flag. Be careful what you wish for when it comes to blogging. 4 articles to start is pretty aggressive. Now, 4 articles to kind of give the blog a little bit of a base, not a bad idea at all. For those of you that may have checked out my podcast, which if you weren't here last night, you should know that the Wednesday night talk chats, the Q&A talk chats, are now available on iTunes and also Google Play as a podcast. So similar to what I think Kyle may have done here, I took the 5 previous Wednesday night talk chats, turned them into podcasts to be able to get everything set up with iTunes and Google Play. Last night's Wednesday night podcast was really the first of the new podcasts that I'm doing that are going to go out. So if that's your plan, Kyle, like this is basically kind of where you were starting with things to give it a base, that's cool. Just make sure you keep up with it. But if I take this at face value, I'm seeing here 4 articles in a month. I'm a quarter of the way through this month, and I've got 0 articles. So make sure that you really want to be doing a blog. Blogs are a ton of work. Do blogs help with SEO? Yes. Is SEO as important today to a photographer as it was 5 years ago? The answer is no, absolutely not. Now, does that mean that you can all just completely ignore it? Well, not entirely, but you've also got to be realistic about yourself. And trust me, from somebody that knows, creating content is a lot of work, a lot of work. John Campbell, thank you so much for the $5 for the Coca-Cola fund. Greatly appreciate it. You can tell I need it because I'm drinking water tonight. So yeah, Kyle, I mean, you know, the blog here is great. I don't know how much control Squarespace gives you over the setup. This is a really short excerpt that you're seeing for each article. If they allow you to change the character or the word count, show a little bit more of the article. I think that will help get people, you know, a little bit more interested. But also be careful about the idea of essentially what you're telling people here with some of these articles. And this is something that I am kind of really fussy about when it comes to marketing. You're telling people how to think. And you got to be careful about telling people what they should think when they're a potential customer. You know, now, I have a feeling like, you know, what it means to be a professional photographer. I did a video about that about a week before this article was written. And that's cool. If I was the trigger that made you write that article, I'm thrilled. But the point is, photographers come to me to learn about being a photographer. So me talking about it, it's a very different context than you talking about it to a potential customer. So that's why I'm just kind of giving you that warning of be a little careful. If this is your game plan for your blog, I guarantee you are headed completely down the wrong path, because the only people that you are going to get to read this are your competition. It's going to be people with cameras. If you want to be blogging to get new clientele, you need to be blogging about your clientele. So that means you need to go back to this wedding and you need to do a blog post about how much fun you had photographing a Scottish wedding with kilts and all the decor. That's what your blog needs to be about. And in the course of doing that, you're going to talk about things that will have keywords like Dallas-Fort Worth. You'll talk about the venue name, all that stuff that you want to be coming up in SEO for. That's how you're going to use that. But blogging about this stuff, this is the kind of stuff that your competition's interested in. This article here, how to prepare, that's helpful when you book someone because you can send them that link and say, hey, here's some guidelines. So, you know, that serves a dual purpose, but not necessarily the kind of articles that are going to get you customers. And so that's what you kind of need to evaluate a little bit there, okay? And again, I want to be really clear. Like, I have mad respect, Kyle, for what you are doing and as fast as you are doing it, and for the degree to which you have managed to progress your work. So please understand, like, I am being a little bit tough on you, and it is in the context that, hey, man, if you took that crazy step, which it is a crazy step, and I respect that crazy step, but this is how you're supporting yourself, then I guarantee you these fine-tuning bits, these tweaks, because none of this is like, oh my God, it's horrible. These are tweaks. They will help you for sure, and they will make a difference, okay? So let's jump off and let's take a look at some of our social media here. So when we get over to the social media, in fact, actually, let me just look. I didn't see when this last picture went up. This one, I thought they showed dates. There were no dates. I thought there were dates. No dates. Okay. Sorry, I thought I was going to see a date when that went up. So we have the same profile picture. That's a good thing, okay? Kyle Sharp Studios, Dallas and Fort Worth, headshot wedding portrait photographer, same tagline. Simple, straight, to the point. That's exactly what you want. Using some of the new Instagram technology with the multiple images per post. Indeed, when you get to like the cool sunset, not so sure that that's helping you a whole lot. You know, we've got a mix. I would try to maybe, Kelly Bentz, thank you so much for that super chat, Kelly. Really, really appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. You know, you've got some really good work here. I would like to see you kind of try and mix things up a little bit more, Kyle, so that it's not like, okay, I just did this portrait session, so here's a bunch of pictures from that portrait session. Mix them up a little bit. And then make sure, too, when you are posting this stuff, so like this, honestly, sometimes you got to let them know who's boss. A big thank you to everyone who made this shoot possible. Keep an eye. Honestly, to me, that's not helping a whole lot. Plus, if we look at your hashtags, fashion photography, I haven't seen that in your list of things you want to do. Commercial photography, haven't seen that on your list of things that you want to do. Studio photography and flash photography, I don't see a single hashtag that says like portraits or couples or weddings or Dallas Fort Worth. Why is Dallas not Fort Worth in here? So when you do this kind of stuff, you have to like keep a focus on what's your end game. So let's take a picture that's definitely one of the ones we know you're doing for. So corporate photography, K-Sharp Studios, Strobus Studio. See all this, you're tagging all this photography stuff. No offense, Tamron's not going to sponsor you. Neither is Flashpoint. So why tag them? What's the point? What do you get from that? You should definitely have, ironically, you have DFW in here. You should have DFW in your hashtags. You should have Dallas in your hashtags. Make sure that you're being, and this applies to all of you. I see photographers do this all the time, okay? Yeah, is it possible that a company like Tamron could turn around and stick that picture on their Instagram page for a day, and that'd be really cool? It's possible, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but when I'm seeing, I'm seeing photography hashtags ahead of marketing hashtags, that's kind of problematic in that sense. So you definitely need to make sure that you are getting your hashtags geared towards the kind of work that you want. So let's see, you guys are telling me that the hours ago button is just below the follow button. Really? Did I miss that? I am not seeing an hours ago. Oh, duh, there it is down there 2 hours ago. Thanks, guys. Okay. I think I'd never seen Instagram before, right? So yeah, I mean, you've got good stuff here. Just get your hashtags a little bit more focused, Kyle, okay? So we move on to Facebook. Good, we see that same good-looking guy in the profile picture, and that's exactly what we should see. So that's really important. We've got some reviews up here. They're all 5-star reviews. Really, really good. Very responsive to messages. Excellent. This is all the kind of stuff that we want to see. Hours are posted. That's really good. So I've got your blog posts here. Okay, this is not bad. So here we're kind of talking about the couple. If you can, if they have a Facebook page, make sure that you are tagging them in your posts so that your post shows up on their page. Really, really important. So like here, you've tagged someone that apparently I'm assuming was one of your subjects. So that's exactly what you want to be able to, want to make sure you're doing. So you're heading in a good direction for, what you're doing here. This is kind of a good example. If you are able to tag him, tag him. Another thing you might want to try doing, Kyle, especially with your weddings, do a selfie when you're shooting your weddings with the bride and groom. And I mean, like, make it a cell phone selfie, a good cell phone selfie. Pick a well-lit spot, watch the backgrounds, but literally do one of these, like arms out, do the selfie with the bride and groom. Everybody laughing, smiling, wait till the end of the night when they're like drunk out of their minds and they look really, really happy. And that's a picture that you should post. Show your clients having fun with you. People find getting photographed like to be a little bit unnerving because the photographer holds a lot of power. They can make you look like crap. So make sure that you're showing people like, I am really fun to work with. So that's something that's really, really underplayed by portrait and wedding photographers. And it's always the same excuse, like, oh God, I hate having my picture taken. That's why I'm a photographer. No, it's like, do pictures that show you with your clients having fun, okay? That stuff definitely pays off. Twitter, again, same profile picture. We got some of the shots from your website, really good. We're cross-posting, so I see that. Same tagline. So marketing stuff is very consistent. That's very important, okay? We've got our blog articles. Here's an example where I'm not a big fan of the posting from Instagram to Twitter for exactly this reason. Like, people just don't click on that link. That's the problem. I'd rather see you post it directly to Twitter so that they actually see the photograph. It's more work, but it's worth doing. If you use an automated system like Hootsuite, as an example, the one that I've talked about in the past that I use, it will allow you to post directly to Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn all at the same time. And that way you're not relying on links where the photos don't show up. So be careful about this. That's kind of bitching about things, what people do. You got to be careful with that stuff. This is another good one here. Be careful when you're doing portraits and weddings. Remember, what I do is, my job is helping photographers. So it's different for me to share something like that than it is for you. Like, if I'm a bride, what does this have to do with me? So like, are you teaching photographers or are you taking wedding pictures, kind of thing? So be careful about that kind of stuff. The more focused your feeds are, your social media feeds, the better, and the clearer. So I can see back here you're doing a lot of the Instagram stuff, but you see how the images. So suddenly now your profile goes all text. People simply aren't going to interact with that. So and one thing, Kyle, not to pick on you, but for all of you, I've done probably 12 or 13 of these website reviews so far, and I've yet to come across a website where a portrait or wedding photographer is using video for marketing. That's really kind of problematic, gang. You need to get some video going on. And I don't mean you got to start shooting video weddings and all that stuff, but I mean, you need to start doing some video marketing, do some little slideshows, that kind of stuff really makes a difference. LinkedIn, you got to love this. LinkedIn puts a photographer out right above your profile because you say you're a photographer. That sucks. That's not Kyle's fault, that's LinkedIn. But Kyle, I would change your LinkedIn profile. If someone is looking to get corporate stuff done and they're a diehard LinkedIn user, which corporate people are diehard LinkedIn users. So if they go to LinkedIn and they search for, headshot photographer, Dallas, Fort Worth, whatever, they come across a profile that says, this guy's been in business for 2 years and he still works for this wedding photographer. He still freelances for this company. He still freelances for this company. And he still freelances for this company. I get it. You got to pay your bills. And I think it's awesome that you're able to do it with photography companies. So it's not like you got to go have like a Walmart job. Okay. So seriously, mad props. But these companies are not going to require you to post this on your LinkedIn page. So take it off. Just completely take it off. You want to make sure that the presentation you're putting forward is you as a photographer done. And it's not that you're lying to people, you're just not giving people a whole history, period. So that would be my advice there. And then Pinterest, again, we get the same profile picture, awesome. One of the things you're losing out on Pinterest, especially with your brides, you've got one person following you. We got to fix that. Easy way to fix it. Go down here to your wedding page, as an example, and make it a point to, let's say, this shot right here, okay? Cute shot with the guy in the kilt. Click send. Share your pin to Facebook. That way you're going to drive some people from Facebook over to Pinterest, get you a couple more followers on Pinterest. It's also worth, on your Pinterest posts, it's worth going through and editing the description underneath them. And talk about the fact that it's a wedding photo, Scottish wedding, kilt. Make a statement or two that gets some keywords in there. That's going to help you show up a little bit more and get a little bit more traction in Pinterest. So I would encourage you, because especially for the brides, Pinterest is very valuable in that sense. So I'd really encourage you to try and get a little bit momentum, going there. Okay. All right. So we have made it through Kyle's website. I am going to switch my screen over here to the side by side. Cool. If you're still here and if you've been learning tonight and enjoying, now I will go ahead and I will ask you that stuff that I always ask you in the past. Please make sure you're following me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. Please just take a second, hit that thumbs up button. let's see, there's like 88 people here right at the moment. So it'd be really great if I could get like 80 thumbs up. Like, it takes a second, okay? And by all means, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment, all that good stuff. If you are interested in these marketing talk chats, and if you're trying to market your business, if you haven't seen them yet, I have a whole series of videos on YouTube about marketing for photographers, starting with the social media for photographers part 1, and then social media for photographers part 2. There's also a video about domain names and website hosting, and also websites for photographers. I promise you, and I'm really pretty confident, that if you take the time to view those videos, you won't feel like you are wasting your time. If you would like to have your website reviewed here on TogChat, you can submit your website. It's real simple. The link is tog.chat/webreview. You can also find it in the description right below the video. Just like with Kyle's website, the form will ask you to fill out 3 real simple questions, along with, of course, the URL for your website. And then your site could potentially be reviewed here on TogChat. And for those of you watching around the world, you've already seen, I don't just do United States-based websites. I do websites from all over the world, okay? So let's go ahead and try and get a couple questions. We've got some good questions waiting here. I'm actually kind of like almost on time tonight. I'm only going to go over a little bit. So let's try and get a couple questions in for you guys. So one of the questions, and this was actually left over from last night, but I thought, you know what, this is a good question to just touch on tonight here in TogChat. So I don't know if Forgive Me Not Photos is tuned in tonight, but the question was, how do you get people to stop cutting their feet off just to get your logo off the photograph? Those of you that are regulars know my answer. The easiest way to get people to not cut their feet off the bottom of a picture just to get your logo off the picture is to not put your logo on the picture, because your logo should not be on the picture. Done, okay? The biggest and the best photographers in the world do not put their logos on their pictures. So stop putting your logos on your pictures. You're simply ruining people's experiences with your photography. There's absolutely no reason to do it, okay? Next question I have is from John Edward Calvino. Is it necessary and important to put a copyright notice and terms and conditions on your website? It's actually a great question. Is it necessary? No. Is it important? Honestly, not really. I mean, the biggest thing, sorry there, chat decided it was going to work. So, John Campbell, yeah, it could be for sure. Copyright notice, you should do that as a habit just to get into the habit. If you understand copyright law in most countries, so I can't speak for every country in the world, but most countries it's actually very similar. You are protected pretty much the minute you press the button. Now, there are different things in different countries that the copyright laws provide you. So like here in the US, if you file a copyright, so not post it on your website, but actually go to the Library of Congress and file it, then you have additional rights under the law to be able to sue and collect reimbursement. But you're still guaranteed the copyright simply by creating it. Be careful with terms and conditions. Your website is your portfolio. It is the, hey, look at what I can do for you. You should consider me as your photographer. If you start with all kind of terms and conditions, well, then you're saying, hey, look at what I can do for you. You should consider me as your photographer as long as you are willing to abide by this rule and this rule and this rule, and understand that under no uncertain terms can I do this or will I do this, and you may not do this. You see my point? So be really, really careful about terms and conditions. A portfolio website simply doesn't need them at all, okay? Kelly Bentz, I have to get your question. You did a super chat for me here. So his question is, what do I recommend for site hosting for event photography where customers come to get their digital photos and order prints, say 12 events a year with 400 photos? There's a couple options, Kelly. SmugMug is definitely probably one of the best and biggest. And I've worked with them, so I'm speaking from experience on that one. Zenfolio, Z-E-N Folio is another one, very popular. Pixie Set is another one that's very popular. And there are some others. Here's the features that you definitely want to look for, in my opinion, Kelly. And also, too, let me be clear. I would encourage you, if you have a marketing website, like we looked at Kyle's Squarespace marketing website tonight, if you are going to go the route of creating a website to do the event stuff, I would make it a separate website. And I talk about this, just going backwards here. I'll throw it up on the screen real quick, and then I'll come down here and talk to you guys. So I talk about it. There it is right there. Good. I talk about it in that video. There are very few companies that have templates that are really good for marketing and really good for client fulfillment. I find that the companies that are really good at fulfillment, like SmugMug, their marketing templates are really very limiting. And then the companies that are really good with the marketing templates are really not that good on the client fulfillment side. So if you're going to do 12 events a year with 400 photos, you're going to be able to make some money from that. Honestly, my advice would be, if you have a portfolio site, keep it. Set up a second domain. It could be a subdomain. It could be a, like Proust dot, whatever your domain name is, or it could be a completely separate domain. And go to a company like SmugMug. What's great about a company like SmugMug is, number one, you upload your files. They create the proofs. They put all that stuff online. People can go on. They can make the selections. If you want to sell digital downloads, you can allow them to download high-res files. You can allow them to order prints. They pay right there on the website. The money goes into either your PayPal account or your bank via like Stripe. And then the order is immediately shipped off to Bay Photo in San Francisco. Bay Photo prints the images and sends them directly to the client. So fulfillment's done, you get the profit. Super easy, super simple, totally the way to go. And there are solutions, I mean, full disclosure, there are solutions that are available if you want to set it up like through a WordPress site and that, but I've got to be honest with you, way too much work to do it yourself. That's definitely, when you're going to do the fulfillment stuff, go with one of the templated programs. It's going to be a much better solution. Okay? All right. So let's see. What else do we have here? From Matthew, I am just getting started, or just getting ready to start this journey of starting my business as a wedding and portrait photographer. Why do I want to say like my sympathies, Matthew? I'm kidding. Do you have any tips or suggestions on getting work or networking? Some people have said work for free. Some say never work for free. What are your thoughts? Well, so actually, Matthew, I talked about this last night in the very beginning of TogChat. The first question that I addressed was, is it okay to work for free to build up your portfolio, or is that going to make it difficult for you to be able to charge for your work later? So your first assignment is go watch the beginning of last night's TogChat. And if you're really rushed for time and don't want to watch the whole video, look at the description below the video. You'll see it's the first question, and right next to that question is a time code. You can click on the time code. It'll take you right to the spot in the video where I talk about that. So that being said, I'm going to make you go watch that video for that part. But I will tell you, since you asked about getting work or networking, social media is the key. Yes, you need a website, but that is the lesser of the needs. Social media is key. And when it comes to networking, forget the networking stuff. And when I say forget it, I mean, I have a feeling you're young, because it's young people, it's millennials that ask about networking. Networking is highly overrated. And what I mean by that is, in colleges today, people learn that networking is go to cocktail parties, have some drinks, eat some food, shoot the bull. Nobody goes to a networking event to do business anymore. So don't waste your energy. The way you want to be networking is you want to go one-to-one. You want to go right to the source. So you're doing portraits. So let's just say, I hope you're not in Dallas because I'm going to tell you how to compete against Kyle. Let's just say that you want to do portraits. So go to the Chamber of Commerce. Maybe join the Chamber of Commerce, which is expensive, so you might want to do that right away. But start going to events, and you basically want to be able to go up to people with your business card. Go up to realtors. Realtors always need good pictures. Corporate business people need good pictures. And introduce yourself. Say, hey, I'm a photographer. I do really great headshots for social media, for LinkedIn, for your website. Look me up if I can help you out. And get your name out there. Don't just rely on social media. There's a lot of value to putting a face to a name and all that kind of stuff. That's why you see me talk all the time about making sure your profile picture is not some cheesy logo, but it is your face. And by the way, while I make that statement, pause. Jean-Edward Calvino, I know you're probably still here. I saw your question about your profile picture. No, you can't use your logo. You're a good-looking guy. You caught a couple pounds extra because you had a kid, your wife was pregnant, all that stuff. Get over it, man. Prove that you're a photographer. Do a really nice self-portrait. And then when you lose the weight, do another self-portrait. No big deal, but don't use your logo. So anyway, Matthew, back to yours. Basically, your first task is make sure people know about you. Don't just expect to do that online. Do that real time in person. But don't get too caught up in spending too much time on all these like networking events. I've done some marketing consultations recently with a few people that took that approach, and they realized like 6 to 8 months in, they're attending all these events and they're putting in all this time and they're doing all this free work and they're getting nothing for it. So, at the end of the day, you simply want to be able to let people know who you are and what they, what they do. James Parrish, thank you so much. So, will I ever critique your gallery site? Some people use for a gallery of work. You mean, I'm sorry, James. James, do me a favor. Give me a response back there as soon as you can. Do you mean like just like a 500 pixels kind of website? Just like to critique your photography? If that's what you mean, sure. I'll gladly do that. Mike, thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate the super chat, both of you guys. But James, let me know. Give me some clarity on that question, and I'll come back to that for sure. Okay. So Arnaldo's got a question here. Would you keep investing in gear for your business if you haven't earned more than you have already invested? No, that's not really business, Arnaldo. That's a hobby. I mean, at that point, if you're trying to build a business and that's your problem right now, you've invested a lot more money than what you're making, and you may have invested more money than what you're making at the moment. But so let me tweak your question a little bit. If you don't have enough momentum going that gives you any indication you can actually earn back what you've invested, let's look at it that way. Yeah, then you've got a hobby going on. So if you are really serious about the business and you are really passionate about the business, that means you have to take a step back and you have to really evaluate the way you're approaching your business. And honestly, Arnaldo, what you might want to do is you might want to consider working with a marketing coach or doing a consultation. If you, let me see if I can get it up here on the screen real quick. I do, not to, toot my horn, but why not? I do marketing consultations that we do them via Skype. You don't have to be here in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I will put the link in the chat window for you guys. I do very comprehensive consultations with folks, and I can, try and help you out. But bottom line, if you are kind of in the hole and not seeing any light at the end of the tunnel, you're spending a lot of money on a hobby. So don't kid yourself. You need to take a step back then if that business is important and try and figure out where you're going wrong. And it could be a lot of different things. So James, in terms of just looking at like when you say a portfolio, if we're not talking about business, yeah, I'll gladly like review your stuff. Make sure that you show up. In fact, maybe what we should do, let's try this. I'm game to try this. James, if you want to be gutsy enough, here's what you should do. So I'm going to go out on a limb here. Let me give you guys my email address, okay? If you're gutsy enough to have me review one of your galleries on TogChat, I won't do it on a marketing night unless you're doing it for business, in which case then we do a website review. But if it's just like reviewing your photographs, I'm game to try that on a Monday night, TogChat, where we do photo reviews. I'll set aside part of the time and I'll do a review of a gallery. So, and this applies to any of you that are here in the room. If you're gutsy enough and you have like a 500 pixels profile or a Flickr account or one of those things and you want some feedback on your photography, email me the link. And also, I always make you work for it. Email me what kind of feedback you want. Don't do me the tell me what I can do to improve my work thing, okay? That's the lazy question. Tell me what it is you feel you're struggling with. Tell me what it is what kind of feedback that you think would be the most helpful to you. And yeah, I'm game to try that on a Monday night. I think that might be kind of interesting to try it out. These TogChats are a work in progress, so I am always open to suggestions, looking for ideas. For those of you that weren't here Monday night, I'll tell you guys this coming Monday, I've got the first of my Tog interviews that's going to be happening. Many of you have heard of another YouTuber and Chicago-based photographer, Manny Ortiz. Manny has recorded an interview with me that I will be showing on Monday. And it's not your normal photographer interview, meaning it's getting Manny to talk about the hows and the whys, the same stuff I talk about. How he got started in photography, why he does the kind of photography that he does. We look at 5 of his more well-known photos, and he walks me through the decisions that he had to make, the choices that he had to make. And I think you'll find it, very, very interesting, because Manny does a lot of the things that you guys hear me go off on all the time. He shoots wide open. He uses high-speed sync, but yet his images are sharp. He gets his pictures in focus. He gets really nice shots. So I think it will be very helpful for all of you to kind of, hear the differences in style and the approach, so that you understand. I've never said that high-speed sync is bad. I've never said that shooting wide open is bad. I've said that high-speed sync for a stupid amount of money and not getting a viable result is bad. I said that shooting wide open and having half of the person out of focus, that's bad. So that's the kind of stuff that, we're talking about here. But I'm totally game to review some galleries if you guys have one that you want me to look at. Okay? So last question I'm going to take for tonight, gang, and then we'll be back on Monday. So from Logan Robertson, I've recently become somewhat infamous in my town for my photography. Logan, infamous is usually not particularly good, just so we're being clear on the words there, okay? James, Diana is not part of the interview. We've already taped it. She is not a part of the interview. However, James, if you follow Manny on, I can't believe I'm going to have a conversation now about Manny's wife. If you follow Manny on social media, just this morning, he shared a video from his wife. His wife, Diana, made her first YouTube video. Apparently, she's starting a YouTube channel. And so she answers questions about how she met Manny, how she became a model, all that stuff. So the answer to your questions, James, it's in that video. Go watch. So Logan is infamous in his town for photography. And he goes on to say his house burnt down. Wow, that sucks. I'm really sorry to hear that, Logan. He got a Sony a6000, started taking pictures to replace what he lost. And whoops, I'm sorry, lost the question. There it goes. So everybody loves him so much, and he's getting so much attention that he's having difficulty monetizing his photography because of the marketing aspect. Should I say $10 booking fee and a big ad, I Facebook advertise, or should I just say starting from X dollars and up? I've come up with one package supposed to be a fast seller, $50 for 3 to 5 framers. That's what he calls the good ones. And 10 to 20 great photographs I'll take over the course of an hour. Digital delivery. Any suggestions, guides to get your reputation changed from the pub photographer who takes their own pictures to the photographer who shoots everyone who's anyone's headshot in town? So, wow, Arnaldo. So you're kind of running fast and loose here, I'm going to be honest with you, with the marketing stuff. No offense, man, but you're wanting to start a business and start charging top dollar with not a lot of gear. Sounds like not a lot of experience. You've been taking pictures in pubs. I'm just saying. So at $50 a session, and you're going to spend an hour, I hate to tell you, respectfully, Arnaldo, you're not getting 3 to 5 framers and 10 to 20 great shots. That's the biggest bunch of BS I've ever heard. No photographer is going to get 3 to 5 framers in an hour and 10 to 20 great shots. So you're talking about something here that's just going to make you a little bit extra cash. Keep advertising on Facebook. You know, the people in your town, if they really like you, get them to do it. But I got to be honest with you, like, when I read stuff like that, and I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm really trying to help you. But when I read stuff like that, I hear somebody that's like talking fast and loose with the facts. Because the simple math is, Arnaldo, those numbers are not going to make you money. They're just not. So if your work is really that good, then why not put a foundation below things? Why not build something that's actually going to take you somewhere? Which means stop rushing. Shooting in an hour thinking you're getting 10 to 20 great shots. No, you're not. If you are, prove me wrong, man. Post a link, send it, and I'll show it to the world. But I'm pretty sure you're not. Okay? So why not take a step back, slow things down, really give people their money's worth, and do good work. Put in the time, put in the effort. Great photographers don't do anything in an hour. They just don't. So that's my advice to you. I'm sorry, but I won't help someone to rush through things because in my opinion, was that not Arnaldo? Arnaldo, it wasn't you. I apologize. It was Logan. I was Logan. When I clicked it, it dropped down one. There we go. It was Logan. So just so we're clear, Logan Robertson. Okay. I won't help someone to shortcut themselves, which is what you're doing, what you're proposing to do, and I definitely won't help someone shortcut a client. Obviously, I give away a lot of my time and a lot of information for free, and I'm a firm believer in the greater good. The more people that I can help to improve what they're doing, the more that it helps the industry in general, and that helps all of us. We all benefit from that. Shortcutting things, rushing through it, playing like rock star, that doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't help you, okay? So out of fairness now, since I said Arnaldo, I did answer your question, so that's good. Arnaldo too, since I know you're right down the road from me, you might want to consider, doing a consultation, and I can, try and help you out. I think it might definitely be to your benefit. So check out that link that I sent you, because obviously if I had a little bit more background in your business, I can give you more specifics, more detail. And certainly, in the Philadelphia area, you are in a very competitive market with a lot of really good photographers. So, if you're looking to really make money, then you're in a scenario where you've really got to have your game on point. And that, of course, starts with having great photography, but then your marketing's also got to be very focused. That's going to be, really, really important. So, okay. All right, gang. I'm going to breathe. It's been a great night. Thank you all for being here and for hanging out. So one last piece of business, and then we're all done. And that is just to let you guys know that as it has been for the last couple of months, this episode of TogChat was sponsored by the good folks at .space domain names. For those of you that have not heard me talk about it before, .space is a domain extension that is quickly becoming synonymous with creatives, artists, illustrators, designers, photographers. With .com being so filled up and difficult to get the names that you really want, .space has become a really, really great alternative. So I will be giving away 5 one-year registrations of a .space domain name. And if you commented in the chat tonight, you will have an opportunity to win. I'll be messaging you via Google and YouTube if you have won. So until next time, remember, we'll be back on Monday night for photo reviews and the interview with Manny Ortiz. And Wednesday night for Q&A. The TogChat podcast will be released tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So please, if you haven't checked that out, check it out on iTunes or Google Play. And next week, I'll be back with another marketing review, another website review. In 2 weeks, on Thursday, we'll be back for Google Analytics Part 2. So for those of you that were here last week for Google Analytics Part 1, that's the follow-up session. So hopefully you got your Google Analytics set up on your website and it's collecting data now. We'll be back in 2 weeks to teach you how to understand some of that data, and more importantly, we're going to teach you how to set up some actual analytics so that you can evaluate what's working and not working with your website. So gang, listen, until next time, please remember these words. Thanks for watching another live episode of TogChat. Now go pick up that camera and shoot something, because your best shot, it's your next shot. So keep learning, keep thinking, and keep shooting. Adios.